When most people think of the Wild West, they picture a cowboy's gun resting low on his hip in a shiny leather holster. But the truth is, not everyone carried their guns that way. Across the frontier, men and women used all kinds of clever holsters designed for survival, speed, or comfort on the trail. Some were handmade by saddle makers. Others came from military gear or border innovations that few people remember today. So let's look at 7 forgotten Wild West gun rigs you've probably never seen. Each one built for a specific need in a world where your sidearm could mean life or death. Number 1. The double loop rig. Imagine you're a cowboy in the old American West. You've got your revolver, maybe the trusted Colt single action army, and you need a holster that stays put while you ride, lean, draw, and sometimes fight. That's where the double loop rig shines. Instead of just a single belt loop, it uses 2 horizontal loops cut through a wide leather skirt behind the holster pouch. The belt slides through those loops, which spreads the weight of the gun and helps keep the holster stable on your hip when you're riding hard or moving fast. Saddlers in places like Cheyenne, Wyoming picked up this design in the 1870s and made it popular. The pouch holds the gun snugly. The skirt behind it keeps the entire rig from twisting or dipping. A common feature, a toe plug at the bottom of the pouch, essentially a little stopper made of leather sewn in to keep dust and mud from getting into the barrel when you're riding through rough country. The double loop rig is lower on the hip than some older designs and offers a better balance between comfort and readiness. Lawmen and outlaws both used it. From a lawman's standpoint, you're on patrol, chased by heat, dust, horseshoes clattering. If your holster shifted or slung, it could cost precious seconds. From an outlaw standpoint, you want your gun concealed, secure, ready when the moment hits. The 2 loops do the heavy lifting. They distribute the shock of movement, reduce stress on the stitching, and keep the angle consistent so your draw is smooth. So when you reach for the grip, you know where it is. It's not glamorous like some later Hollywood holster slings, but it's real. It's built for the dust, the ride, the unpredictability of frontier life. That's what makes the double loop rig worth remembering. Number 2. The Mexican loop. Picture a tough leather holster with a wide back panel and one big loop that hugs the belt. That is the Mexican loop. It shows up across the Southwest when cowboys and vaqueros want a rig that survives heat, dust, and long rides. The maker folds the holster body around the gun. He stitches the front seam. Then he cuts a single horizontal slot in the skirt and slides the folded pouch through that slot. The loop locks the holster to the belt and spreads the weight so it sits steady on your hip. The design is simple. That is why it lasts. Riders liked how it held a Colt single action army or a big Smith & Wesson without wobble. Many rigs had a small plug at the toe to keep grit out. Some had a rawhide or leather thong to tie the bottom to the leg for extra control at a gallop. The Mexican loop often rode a little lower than older California Slim Jim styles. That lower ride gave your hand a clean path to the grip. The skirt also protected the stitches from tearing when the leather flexed every day. If you swapped guns a lot, you could wet the leather and let it mold again. That made it useful for ranch hands and drifters who could not order a perfect custom fit each time. Lawmen on the border used it because it stayed put when you got in and out of the saddle or climbed onto a stage. Outlaws used it for the same reason. It was not a fancy trick draw rig. It was a working rig built to be used hard. Makers often added border stamping or floral carving. The art looked good. The function mattered more. The big loop kept the can consistent, so your draw did not change from day to day. That predictability is what people trusted on rough trails and in crowded saloons. Number 3. The Slim Jim. Picture a straight, lean holster that hugs the revolver like a glove and rides high on a narrow belt. That is the Slim Jim. It shows up in California in the 1850s during the gold rush when men are carrying long-barreled cap and ball revolvers every day. Makers shape a tight leather sleeve for pistols, like the Colt 1851 Navy and the Big Dragoon. They stitch the front seam. They add a simple belt loop on the back. No wide skirt, no flap. Just a clean open top that gives quick access on a muddy street or a rocky trail. The draw is smooth because there is nothing to snag. Some versions add a toe plug at the bottom to keep dust out and help the holster hold its shape. Many are plain with a small borderline. Others get early California floral carving that shows Mexican saddle influence. Riders like how the Slim Jim sits steady without extra bulk. Stagecoach guards can lean or sit without a big skirt digging into a hip. A cross-draw Slim Jim also exists and helps if you spend hours in the saddle. It is not a flashy trick draw rig. It is a practical carry for men who need a sidearm all day. You can hide it under a coat without printing too much. You can re-wet and mold it to a new revolver if you change guns. Lawmen who walk a beat and outlaws who drift between camps both value the same thing here. The holster stays put, and the angle feels the same every time you reach for the grip. As cartridges arrive and belts get wider, the Mexican loop takes over, but the Slim Jim keeps a job with percussion guns and early cartridge conversions for years. When people today imagine a clean frontier holster with no frills, they are often picturing this one without knowing its name. It is simple on purpose. It solves a daily problem without showing off. Number 4. The shoulder rig. Picture a small revolver riding under a coat where no one can see it. That is the basic idea. Instead of hanging from a belt, the holster hangs from straps that pass over the shoulders and around the back. The weight spreads across your upper body. The gun sits high and close. You can move through a crowd without bumping the grip on chairbacks or door frames. That mattered in busy frontier towns where open carry could cause trouble or break a local rule. Gamblers liked it because they lived at card tables and needed a clean draw while seated. Detectives and railroad guards liked it because they could keep their jacket on during long shifts and still reach the gun fast. The classic setup uses 2 straps that meet between the shoulder blades and a stabilizer strap around the chest. The holster rides on the weak side. The muzzle points down if the holster is vertical, or back if the holster is horizontal. Vertical carry fits longer barrels and keeps the outline smooth under a coat. Horizontal carry speeds the draw with shorter revolvers, since your hand meets the grip naturally. Either way, you usually see a retention strap with a simple snap. You break the snap with your thumb and pull straight across your body. That crossbody motion looks like you are reaching inside a coat. It does not advertise what you are doing until the gun is clear. The rig shines in cold weather when a heavy coat makes a belt holster hard to access. It also shines on horseback and in carriages because you can draw while seated without the gun digging into your hip. The trade-offs are real. You need to practice so you do not sweep your own arm during the draw. You need a jacket that fits the rig so it does not print. You also need to check the straps since leather can stretch with sweat and heat. Still, for men who needed to carry daily in town and stay discreet, the shoulder rig solved problems a belt rig could not touch. Number 5. The cavalry flap holster. Picture a thick leather holster with a full cover that snaps down over the grip. That flap is the whole point. It shields the revolver from rain, dust, and mud on long patrols. Soldiers rode for hours over bad roads and open country. An open-top holster would pack with grit fast. A full flap kept the gun clean and ready. Most army rigs of the era carried long-barreled revolvers, so the holster body was deep and stiff. Makers stitched a strong front seam. They added a toe plug so the muzzle did not push through the leather, and so dirt did not shoot up into the barrel. Many holsters had a simple brass or leather closure and a U.S. stamp on the flap. The hanger sat high and strong on a wide duty belt. Some models used a swivel or drop loop so a trooper could sit a saddle or bend at the hip without the holster jabbing the leg. The usual carry was on the right side with the butt forward. That sounds odd until you think about mounted use. A cavalryman might keep the saber or reins in the right hand. He could reach across with the left and pull the revolver in a smooth cross draw. On foot, he could still roll the holster around the belt a bit to clear the flap and draw. Speed was not the goal. Reliability was the goal. You needed the gun to fire after rain, river crossings, and dust storms. After the war, a lot of these rigs reached civilians as surplus. Cowboys and lawmen sometimes cut the flap off to speed the draw. Others shortened it and added a strap. That is how you see the line from military gear to ranch gear. The full flap holster looks bulky to modern eyes. In the field, it was a smart answer to weather, sweat, and constant motion. It kept steel alive when the environment tried to ruin it. Number 6. The Buscadero rig. Picture a holster that hangs low on the hip and tilts the grip forward. That is the Buscadero. It shows up along the border in the early 20th century and then explodes in Western movies. The rig mixes real ranch gear with show business needs. The belt is wide and often carved. The holster is attached to a drop loop that lowers the gun below the belt line. A thong ties the bottom to the thigh so it does not swing. The angle is open and the path to the grip is clear. That is why it photographs so well. Actors and exhibition shooters loved it because the draw looks fast and smooth on camera. Stunt cowboys brought their saddle shop skills into the studio and refined the pattern. You can thank that crew for the classic gunfighter silhouette that most people imagine today. Working cowboys and many lawmen did not carry this way during the cattle drive era. A low ride can snag on a saddle horn and knock the gun out of the holster. It can also beat your leg during long rides. The Buscadero focuses on speed and theater. It is great when you stand, pose, or perform. It is less friendly when you rope, mend fence, or work a full day in the dust. That trade-off mattered. Real trail gear needed to survive rain and brush. Movie rigs needed to sell a story and hit a mark. A good Buscadero still solves real problems for quick access. The drop keeps the grip clear of a heavy coat. The wide belt spreads weight so the rig does not twist. Makers often add a steel or rawhide reinforcement at the throat so the mouth stays open after the draw. A simple strap or snap controls retention. The best versions find a balance. Enough cant to speed the hand. Enough structure to keep the gun steady. It is the most famous holster style in the world for a reason. It turned frontier function into a clean, iconic line that the camera could not ignore. Number 7. The cross-draw rig. Picture the holster sitting on the opposite side of your strong hand, with the grip tilted forward. Your hand reaches across your body, breaks the strap, and the gun comes out in one smooth line. Riders pick this setup because life in the saddle changes everything. A strong side holster can jab your hip and catch on the cantle. A cross-draw sits flatter and stays reachable while you are seated for hours. Stagecoach drivers used it because the reins stay in the strong hand while the other hand draws clean. Scouts and lawmen who spent long days on horseback liked the same thing. The motion is natural when you sit, step into a doorway, or lean under a low branch. It also helps under a coat because the grip does not get trapped by heavy fabric. Many rigs used a medium forward cant so your wrist stays straight. That angle matters when the belt rides higher on a money belt or a cartridge belt. You see plain open-top versions, and you also see thumb brake straps for retention. A toe thong ties the bottom to the leg if the trail gets rough. The cross-draw pairs well with a second strong side holster for 2-gun carry. The offside gun clears coats and saddle parts. The strong side gun handles open country. That mix gives options when space is tight or when you need your other hand for the reins. There are trade-offs. You must train the draw so you do not sweep your own arm. You must guard against gun grabs in a crowd because the grip faces forward. Some towns posted rules about how you carried in public. A cross-draw under a coat kept peace with those rules while keeping the gun ready. Outlaws used the same logic for surprise. A reach across the front looks like you are going for a wallet. Then the revolver is already clear. The design is not about flash. It is about comfort, access, and a consistent angle in real working positions. That is why the cross-draw stayed useful long after faster-looking rigs came and went.